And look at Randy Orton slithering. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen, but guess what? This is you, an uber-powerful S-ranked master gorilla. And the time will eventually come that you find yourself locked in a slap-down, drag-out duel to the death. Fight back! With one of your fellow apes to decide who gets the last banana in the bunch, or some such silly monkey business.
Deal.
Many years prior to that fateful day, however, you were just a measly little F-ranked gorilla fresh out of your mother's womb. As in the case with all infant gorillas, your stat line leaves a great deal to be desired. You're approximately as fast and strong as a dying goat, and only half as intelligent, which becomes even more problematic when considering the fact that baby gorillas are born barely able to see through their own two eyes, or even properly stand up on their own 2 feet. Luckily, biology did you a favor by ensuring that your tiny little ape hands, much like those of the less sophisticated, worse-smelling human race, are fully capable of clinging to a variety of surfaces, objects, and even other animals. The last part is especially important, seeing as you'll need to be able to keep a firm grip on your mother.
Come here, Buck!
I want to apologize.
If you have any hope of surviving long enough to taste your first banana. This is because after having carried their offspring for a full pregnancy term that can last upwards of 265 days, gorilla mothers typically avoid going above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to caring for their children. She'll certainly groom you, let you suck on her mommy milkers, and protect you from whatever dangerous predators would do you harm. You know, unless she doesn't. But she's not likely to win a Mother of the Year award when compared to other, more dutiful maternal figures in the animal kingdom.
My baby.
Still, you'll find yourself more or less attached to her hip for the first 4 to 5 months of your life, and since she was mindful enough to activate her EXP share ability, you'll eventually gain enough experience points to learn the walk around without tumbling like a Jenga tower skill. While the nursing stage will continue for upwards of another 2 years, it's at this point that you'll start learning to ingest solid food, pick out your own plans for midday snacks, and slowly but surely become your own ape. While not a particularly impressive array of improvements, these still end up being just enough to award you your first level up from a pathetic little F-rank ape to a still highly lackluster but marginally less worthless D-rank ape. Taking a look at your stat line, not only are you and the dying goat now approximately on the same level of intelligence, which really isn't saying much, you've even managed to build a little monkey muscle and ape agility that will force your natural predators to at least keep their hands on the controller if they have any hopes of having you for breakfast. Naturally, due to you still being incredibly vulnerable, Mommy Dearest won't allow you to wander too far out of her sight for the sake of her own safety. However, the primary protective force that keeps your picture from showing up on a banana-flavored milk carton is none other than your father or father figure, the silverback ape of the group. These S-ranked raid boss types practically live in a monkeyed-up version of harem anime, as a single male gorilla will often have a multitude of female partners and at least one child with all of them. Unlike the mothers who generally follow a relatively similar parenting pattern, the way that silverbacks treat their offspring can range from being surprisingly patient, considerate, and doting daddies to the kind that step out to the gas station for a pack of Newports and are never heard from again. While I'm sure the latter will be back eventually, maybe, the former will take it upon themselves to show you the ropes of how your kind is meant to operate within the group's social structure, which often involves them introducing their little ones to the other mothers of the group, making sure they get friendly with their half-siblings, and laying the smackdown on any ape who tries to bring undue drama to the group.
Hey! Stop it!
Whichever kind of father you end up having, you'd better pray to your Lord and Savior Harambe that your mother never, ever opts to file for divorce and remarry. As is common among some species of silverback gorilla to outright murk whatever children their new mate might have had from a previous monkey marriage. This is a practice known as infanticide, and is done under the assumption that unaliving a previous child will hasten the biological clock of the female gorilla so that it takes less time for her to be ready and to get knocked up by her new mate. Thankfully, you managed to make it through the first few years of your life without meeting with such an untimely and premature end. As is typical for gorillas, much of your waking hours are spent nibbling on whatever food you can get your grubby little hands on, nearly all of which are plant-based due to your kind being dedicated herbivores with the occasional iron-rich insect thrown in for variety. When not stuffing your funny-looking face, you and some of your fellow juvenile apes engaged in countless hours of wrestling and play fighting to hone your skills. Here it comes! And nab some extra XP. You even managed to complete a few side quests along the way, such as learning how to sleep all by your lonesome in a separate nest from your mother, which is a marquee sign that a gorilla's maternal figure has a newfound degree of faith in her child's ability to fend for themselves. Your tireless commitment to self-improvement would eventually be rewarded with your second proper level up, which sees you graduating from being a lowly D-ranked ape to an actually decently respected C-ranked one. As you can see by taking a look at your newly updated stat line, you've seen increases across the board. You're now at least marginally more intelligent than that dying goat we mentioned earlier, and your strength and agility have finally grown to the point that you can challenge any of your fellow adolescent apes to a no-items, final destination 1v1 without getting snapped like an overly hairy banana-loving twig.
Fatality.
Still, you've got a long way to go before you're a real force to be reckoned with, and most definitely are not going to be waging any wars against an S rank anytime soon. But with the continued support of your mother, there's no doubt that you'll be a bona fide king of the jungle in no time. So imagine your surprise when, at the ripe young age of 4 years old, you wake up one day to the news that your parents have been engaging in so much super happy fun time that your mother is now pregnant with a baby sibling that you never even asked for. This is par for the course, as 4 years is the average span of time between each child that a female gorilla ends up having. And unlike Homo sapiens, they're also fully capable of continuing to bear children no matter how old they get. But this still means that she'll be preoccupied with giving her newborn the ape's share of her attention. And while the two of you will likely retain a decently strong familial bond, it's also a sign that the time has arrived for you to become fully independent from the one who gave birth to you. So there you are, more or less kicked to the curb by your early game party and forced to run it solo until you can find some like-minded players to carry you through the next few dungeons. While on their little strong and independent streak, it's imperative that gorillas pay mind to avoid any high-level bosses.
Why are you running?
That might be a bad matchup for them until they've gained a few more stat points. By far and away, the most notable of these enemies being the numero uno predator of all gorilla kind, the leopard. If you thought Saber from Tarzan was on one, you'll be even more terrified to learn that leopards are widely considered to be the sole enemy of the gorilla race, with a single adult specimen typically being more than a match for even the highest ranked silverback. Get a few more leopards in the mix and it's barely even a challenge for them to send an entire group of gorillas to go chill with Harambe in the great banana peel in the sky, so you do well to take a page from Piccolo's book and learn how to dodge them for dear life. Assuming you're able to avoid having your living license revoked, then the next few years of your life require you to tackle one of two different quest lines depending on your gender. For any single female out there, your primary goal is to actually stop being one of them and to find yourself a great, strong, darn dirty ape to wed and have children with. Female gorillas generally experience their first ovulation cycle between the ages of 6 and 8, the former being the norm for those held in captivity, while the latter is the average for ones who exist in the wild. While some wait till as long as the age of 10 before showing any interest in doing the nasty, no sooner do they reach sexual maturity do they gladly cut ties with their original group and begin seeking a sexy and successful ape bachelor to mate with in the hopes of rearing a child of their own. However, exhibiting behavior that many members of the human race could stand to learn from, female gorillas actually have exceptionally high standards when it comes to choosing a silverback partner. It's not terribly uncommon for them to spend a fair amount of time playing in the field, moving from group to group, until they finally find the male specimen that's worthy of becoming Mr. Right. This is not to say that they're for the jungle or engage in any promiscuous behavior, but they do know better than to get hitched on the first monkey who beaks his chest at her. For all my sad and single gorilla dudes out there, your questline looks a fair bit different. Between 6 and 8 years of age, you've yet to become anywhere near appealing enough to the female population, and they choose you over an older, stronger, and more financially stable silverback Chad. As such, instead of homie hopping like your lady counterparts, you spend this phase of your life focusing on yourself, hitting the gym, getting your money up, and transforming from the ape she didn't want to the one she can't have. a male gorilla's musculature begins to form into the strong and dirty stereotype that humans usually think of when picturing a gorilla during this time, and though they won't reach fully grown status until approximately the age of 15, they already possess a level of physical power that far outstrips that of their human counterparts. Which is basically to say that all it would take is a little teamwork for you and your boys to make Rise of the Planets of the Apes a reality. All this time you've spent grinding dungeons solo and crafting yourself into an irresistible monkey bachelor leads you to gaining more than enough XP to receive yet another level up. This one taking you from C rank up to B. A quick look at the good old stat page shows that while your mediocrity agility ensures that you won't be zooming around with the help of a cart, your strength has shot up to highly respectable levels, giving you more than enough power to both defend yourself as well as procure some famously hard to crack snacks like bamboo poles. However, as you can see, you and your fellow members of the Monkey Mafia have a lot more going for you than mere brute strength. While your physical power is well worth writing home about on its own merits, you'd be making a mistake to underestimate the intellect you've gained over the years. Gorillas, as is the case with many species of apes, are widely considered to be among the smartest members of the animal kingdom. While you're not likely to catch any of them whipping a golf cart on the way to the banana store, many have exhibited enough smarts to make clever use of basic tools when scrounging for food. Some are capable of learning sign language, and all are scientifically agreed to be emotionally and psychologically mature when compared to most animals. It's certainly no coincidence that your kind has the capacity for such a human-like behavior, as yet another interesting distinction about gorillas is that their genome sequences are almost identical to those of the human race. In fact, you share approximately 98% of your DNA with those hairless, overly violent weaklings, which has given rise to countless scientific arguments that humanity evolved directly from your far stronger, better-smelling selves. Whatever the case may be, the bottom line is that the intellect of a gorilla is an exceptional one that should never be counted out, as further evidenced by Donkey Kong's instance on wearing a tie at all times. That, my friends, is what you call a consummate businessman. Eventually, by way of either your exceptional brains or considerable brawn, your solo dolo dungeon grind begins to bear fruit. Puberty hits you like a freight train, at which point your canines grow to frightening lengths, several sexual characteristics of your body finally begin to take shape, and, most notably, the hairs on your back develop a silvery sheen that signifies another step on your march toward full adulthood. The time has arrived that you've actually become relevant to the opposite sex in terms of a potential mate, and realizing that you now have the long-awaited chance to get your freak on, some male gorillas are all too eager to start serving bananas to whatever female happens to be hungry, if you catch my drift. In fact, so thirsty are these damn dirty apes
Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!
that it's not uncommon for a few eligible ape bachelors to join forces and travel together from gorilla group to gorilla group, practically stealing whatever lovely lady monkeys happen to catch their eye. Thankfully, while these stolen females might not be particularly loyal to their mates, silverback gorillas don't often hit it and quit it, which is something else the human race could stand to learn from them.
Gotta hit it and quit it.
They generally remain loyal to the females they reproduce with and serve as dutiful father figures to all their offspring, eventually creating a harem group of their own, not unlike the ones they were raised in. Upon amassing a variety of lady friends and baby apes to call your own, you've officially completed a major story quest, earning an absolute boatload of experience points that prove more than enough for you to ascend to the second highest gorilla rank, A. Your stat page speaks to this growth, with your already commendable strength and brain power increasing even more, while even your relatively unremarkable agility hits a decent value. This formidable stat spread, in conjunction with all the endlessly useful survival skills you've learned over the years, leaves you more than capable of leading a healthy and happy group of apes for years to come. And the years come swift and hard as, before you know it, you've transformed from a wide-eyed, slack-jawed, funny monkey doofus into a proud and majestic silverback leader who commands respect and keeps their peace. As head of the group, it falls on your incredibly broad shoulders to keep everyone in line and effectively communicate with your fellow apes whenever the need arises. Seeing as your kind are indigenous to African jungles where visibility can be a serious issue, gorillas within a squad typically convey their thoughts and feelings to each other with sound just as often as body language, with the silverback naturally being the most communicative of all. While these African jungles have been scientifically proven to be more than a little noisy at times as well, the variety of grunts and roars often employed by gorillas goes a long way to keeping the entire group on the same page at any given moment. This is even possible for you to do when your voice chat mic goes belly up, as silverbacks have the ability to emit an extremely specific scent that can alarm his entire crew to the presence of danger in the area. While the exact nature of this fragrance is unknown, I'm willing to bet 5 bunches of bananas that it's still easier on the nose than the average human. But I guess that's not saying much. Your life as the leader of an entire gorilla group has the potential to be fairly smooth and simple.
Come on, man! That's too easy!
So long as you take the necessary precautions to defend against leopards and do a solid job at your caring for your ladies and their offspring. One unfortunate point of note, however, is that your babies are destined to have an exceedingly high mortality rate, with nearly 30% of all little ones passing away within their first year of life, and over 40% of those who make it past that point dying before they've reached adulthood. This, unfortunately, can't be chalked up to a mere skill issue either, as in addition to the infanticide that we mentioned earlier, gorillas are unusually highly susceptible to respiratory infections, such sicknesses accounting for nearly 15% of all deaths in infants. But, of course, there's no bigger contributing factor to the deaths of your kind than humanity itself. Whether they decide to poach gorillas for their meat or to use as trophies, destroy their land in the interest of agriculture, or just be in the middle of completing some sick and sadistic side quest, mankind is the primary reason that there are estimated to be only about 320,000 gorillas left in the world. This puts you firmly on the critically endangered list, and also means that the full extinction of your species is a distinct possibility in the coming centuries. So, if you've been wondering why I've ridiculed humanity so much up until this point, there you go. Putting aside all that depressing death and destruction, you find yourself growing little by little every day that you serve as the leader of your gorilla group. Years wear on and you eventually make it well into your 20s, and it's not long before your extreme dedication to the good old dungeon grind, as well as your mild dedication to your decidedly less important wives and kids, are rewarded with one final rising of the ranks. You graduate from A to the illustrious S, and as showcased on your stat page, you've now reached one of the absolute peaks of animal intellect, while still boasting enough strength to smack a human so hard that their grandchildren will come out of the womb tasting bananas. That dying goat doesn't stand a chance, by the way. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this means no gorilla in their right mind would want to risk bringing down your wrath, but unfortunately, you'd also be dead wrong. One day, some goofy-looking clown of an ape pays your group a visit, deciding that he'll not only be leaving with 2 bunches of your finest bananas, but he'll also be taking one of your wives as his own effective immediately. However, your parents didn't raise some punk. So you channel the spirit of Uzui Tengen and resolve to protect the honor of your wives and your nanners no matter the cost. A fate-defining battle for the ages is about to commence, and it's all on you to make sure you go down on the right side of monkey history. And, just like that, peace has been restored to the jungle. You've completed the final main story quest, and your legend is solidified in the annals of monkey history. All that's left for you to do is now indulge in a peaceful life with your gorilla group for as long as you have left, which you'll be glad to know has the potential of being a fairly lengthy period. Gorillas that live out in the wild have been known to live for 35 to 40 years on average, and while this pales in comparison somewhat to captivity gorillas, many of whom can live up to 50 years of age, it still gives you plenty of time to mess around with the family you've built, and until the sun sets on your life one last time. But again, enough with all that death. Unless we're talking about this clown, you still got a long and fulfilling life to live, so go ahead and focus on that for the time being. You've earned it, great ape! This brings an end to all that monkey business, but the animal kingdom still has plenty of lives left for us to explore. If you care to find out what kind of trouble you'd get into living as a crocodile, click the video on screen now.